And hello, party people. Welcome back to another NRW video. That's right, another review for all our fans in video land. I'm your host, David Estacado, and I'm here with my buddy from another nutty. From the left-hand side, the one and only Mr. Rob, the movie guy. What's good, Rob?
All is good here, man. Thank you, everybody, here for joining us here today, because today we've got a very special review here for you, because we're going to get into the first of the film series here for Bill and Ted Excellent Adventure here, leading up to the release of the third film, Bill and Ted Face the Music here. Now, before we get into our thoughts for this film here, let's roll the trailer here real quick.
Roll it.
Now, a motion picture so grand, so magnificent, and so vast, it spans 7,000 years.
No way! Yes way!
But it starts with Bill.
I'm Bill S. Preston!
Who was Joan of Arc?
And Ted.
Noah's wife? We're in danger of flunking most heinously tomorrow.
A force from the future.
Can we go anywhere we want at any time?
You can do anything you want.
Is putting history at their fingertips.
Let's reach out and touch someone.
They're traveling through time.
How's it going, Royal Ugly Dudes?
Put them in the Iron Maiden.
Excellent!
Execute them.
Bogus. How's it going, dude?
And they're making a big impression.
Historical babes.
Now they're home.
Everybody get together, remember who your buddy is.
To trash the 20th century.
We got a live one here.
Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Napoleon,
We're from history.
Billy the Kid.
Oh my God!
Joan of Arc, Sigmund Freud,
Tell me about your mother.
You a musician?
Beethoven,
Genghis Khan!
Abraham Lincoln,
Party on, dudes!
Socrates, George Carlin,
We're history.
If you guys are really us, what number are we thinking of? 69, dudes!
Bill and Ted's
Excellent! Excellent!
Excellent Adventure.
Party on, dude.
And that is pretty much the premise of the movie. Two high school guys are in trouble of failing, and in order to save the world, because apparently them becoming a band is the catalyst of a utopian future, they get assisted by the awesome guy Rufus in trying to pass their history test and the misadventures of going back in time. And will they make it in time to pass? That's the premise of the movie. It's a weird movie. When you think of time travel, this is one of the movies you think about. And as Rob and I got into starting this series, we kind of actually realized this franchise was a lot bigger than we thought it was.
Yeah.
Because Rob, we were talking about this earlier before we started the review. We grew up watching the cartoon.
Yes.
And even eating the breakfast cereal.
Yep. I remember that very well.
And it was like a knockoff Lucky Charms, but it had Bill and Ted on it, so that was cool. Yeah. So I know I kind of gave you some information about it. It kind of blew my mind a little bit. You want to get a little bit into that before we start the review?
Well, so you mentioned that there was a cartoon series as well, too. The one thing that really surprised me was the fact that there was even a live-action TV series, which I literally had no idea even existed until you brought it to my attention. And we were talking about this not the other day here, and I was like, "Are you serious?" And you're like, "Yeah, man." I was like, "No," and then you told me, "But it's not good." And I was like, I gotta check it out for myself. I saw the first episode. Yeah, man, it's really not very good. But I will say this here. They obviously were working with people who didn't really know what they were working with. Because you can tell right off the bat. And it's a very low-budget show. But if you guys want to see it for yourself, it's on YouTube right now. You can actually just look up Bill and Ted TV series. And because the series only lasted, what, 7 episodes, something like that? Yeah,
it was only for that summer. Because the cartoon got canceled after the second season. And they just kind of rolled out the live-action series a little bit right after that to kind of continue that little rise. Because I think the second movie was right around the time it came out. So,
well, this one came out after the second film.
Yeah,
I think the film came out the second film came out in 91. This one came out in 92. So the summer of 92. So, but again, if you want to check it out for yourself, looking for it online, you'll see what it is here. And look, I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody who is putting the work in there but it's really not very, very good. But see it for yourself, and you can decide if you love it or hate it. If you do love it, God help you. But anyways, so moving on to the
we
next.
might do a review. If you want us to do a review, let us know.
Let us know.
We'll do that.
We'll do the honor for you guys, which I'm not looking forward to. So don't do it. Don't ask us to do it, please. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, look. The film, as David has mentioned here, this was actually a much bigger franchise than we actually remembered here. Because I did remember the cartoon series and eating the cereals, but this was one of those franchises for me that I remember visiting as a kid and then moved on to something else, forgot about it, and then it would kind of come back into my childhood in some way or shape or form by forms of reruns here. Now, I want to get into something real quickly here because I remember this film series when I was a kid, but I watched it on television there. But I remember thinking I was watching the first film, but in reality, I was watching the second one. That was my introduction to Bill and Ted here. I know that you had a slightly different introduction for this film series here. So why don't you share your introduction of that?
Same. It's not something I picked up, at the video store every weekend. No, it's something I always caught on TV too.
Yeah.
Just growing up in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s, that was like the staple of my childhood with all these, early 80s, late 90s sci-fi films were like, Back to the Future, Bill and Ted, even like, old horror movies too. Like this is kind of one of those staple movies that came up a lot during, watching those Sunday and Saturday morning movie shows, either in the morning or the late afternoon. So it was one of those, I watched it and I grew up liking it, and then getting into the cartoon as a kid, that was like my Saturday morning, eat my breakfast cereal when I watched the cartoon situation.
Yeah, and you told me too that both Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves and even George Carlin came back to voice the roles of the characters in the cartoon series, which I thought was very nice. But they only did it for one season. The second season they brought somebody else in for that. And I didn't know that, and I grew up watching the series, but it was back burner stuff that I saw, and I was like, I love it, and then I forgot about it as soon as I was done. So, so let's get into this here because we, after hearing the news of rumblings for a decade actually that there was a work of the third film, so everyone at that point was really excited for that, and I didn't realize there was actually a big following for this franchise here. Enough to generate some interest for people to want to see the film.
It's generated quite some buzz.
Right. So, now we're here 10 years, because I think the first time I heard about rumblings was back in 2010, if I'm not mistaken, and now here we are in 2020. So 10 years later, here we are getting ready for the release of this new film here. So let's get into Bill and Ted's excellent adventure here, because this is the one that started it all for them. And it was actually a very successful film in the box office. I think it was like a $10 million budget film, and it made like $40 million in the States alone and however else worldwide. So it definitely made money, and it obviously garnered interest for people to want to come back and check out the sequel here.
Yeah.
So we talked about the plot. Really, the plot's not that fantastic. It's kind of a really ridiculous plot. But the best thing about the films here are, in fact, really the characters. Bill and Ted are fantastic. Both Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves are phenomenal in the part. And, of course, Mr. George Carlin himself, the late and great George Carlin, is phenomenal as Rufus here. Now, I forgot that he was not in the movie for that much. I remember as a kid thinking that he was in there a lot more. But having revisited this film here, I was like, holy shit, he's only in there for like maybe 4, 5, 6 scenes altogether. And
yeah. And then, the intro.
Yeah.
When he introduces Bill and Ted to the time machine, and then like the outro. That's it.
Well, there's other parts in the middle as well too. Of course.
And he left such an impact. He brought kind of a sense of I don't know, like he was like the the hero. He was like the old wizard and the hero. You have those like that smart figure that the heroes go to for advice, and he filled that kind of role, that niche for the story.
But to me, he was kind of like he was more the guy that said, all right, hey, here's what you got to do this, and you're on your own. And then he was never in the picture after that. At least for a while, I should say. So in that regard, I actually appreciated the character for doing this. He wasn't there a part of the ride the entire time like I thought he was, because like I said, I haven't seen this film in quite some time, and there's a lot of things I remember. Like, oh yeah, of course, this part. I remember, Rufus was talking with him in that sequence where they're being visited by themselves from the future as well, and it was just like this whole weird little thing there. But another thing I want to get into too is that the use of the historical characters here, because there's quite a few of them that are used in this movie. You've got Napoleon Bonaparte, Billy the Kid, Joan of Arc, Genghis Khan, Sigmund Freud. Who else?
Your favorite,
Beethoven.
your
And then
favorite.
the most accurate portrayal of Abraham Lincoln of all time. Eat your heart out, Daniel Day-Lewis here, because I'm sure he saw this film and he's like, oh, how can I live up to that here? But the man won an Oscar, so credit to him, right? But no, but in all seriousness, you have Abraham Lincoln, of course, in the film, and so they're using all these characters, these historical figures here, for the plot of the film to help them get this report done in time. And why not bring the real people from that era and use them for this report, which is a very interesting idea, and it worked well for the film. Kind of a little outlandish, I thought, but it definitely worked here. And then, of course, you also have like little side bits here and there as far as like the humor is concerned, where you have a former high school student of their that they went to school with, having married Bill's dad, which was kind of an odd thing, but it was funny for the plot. So, I mean, there's really not a whole lot that I can really kind of get into without mentioning just the immaturity of this film, because there's, I think about it now and I'm watching it, I still enjoy the movie. Maybe because a lot of it has to do with the fact that I grew up with it, and I enjoyed it as a kid, and I'm still very much attached to it now, although I hadn't seen it in quite some time. I know you mentioned before, too, before we started watching the film, that you hadn't seen it in well over a decade. So that's around the same time I haven't seen the film, too.
Yeah, the last time I actually saw the film was actually in my 9th grade class. The teacher popped it in my history class. So it was like my world civilization class.
This is the most historical accurate film you'll ever see, guys.
In hindsight, I probably should have used the premise as my project for that class. Probably gotten a better grade, but it's here and there. But yeah, like the movie doesn't really have a lot going for it, but it also doesn't have a lot against it either. But you're right. Bill and Ted, the characters, are kind of these dumbed down surfer dudes, and the way that they're portrayed.
Although you never see them surf.
Yeah, yeah. The way that they're portrayed by Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves, they did a fantastic job, kind of bringing some charm to the characters and bringing some charm to the film. Because that's one thing that I like the film. The film doesn't take itself seriously at all. It knows it's ridiculous, and it doesn't make any sense. But it works. It just somehow works. Even though I felt like some of the characters, some of the historical characters, just thrown in just for the the bits in the mall and some of the you call action sequences.
Yeah.
But I mean, even then, like you don't really care, because as you're watching the movie, you're just enjoying the ride, honestly. And I think that's kind of what it felt like. You're just hey, I've been on this ride before. It's all right. I've seen everything, but I'm still enjoying it.
Well, so that's pretty much the positives here for me, because we both enjoyed pretty much the same things here. Now, let's get into some of the negatives here, because although we did enjoy the film quite a great deal, we did notice a major set of flaws here. And one of them for me, and I'm not sure if you if you felt the same way too, was that the fact that we've seen a lot of films that deal with time travel, and the biggest thing that they have of its rule on is that you take one little thing out of the original timeline and take it out of and bring it to the past or the future, you will reset everything. And it's gonna ruin that timeline that in that present time that you live in, if you screw anything up. And even the simplest little things like that, the whole butterfly effect, if you will. Yeah. So this movie, they're just picking characters out from these timelines here, bring them along for this ride. And there seems to be no repercussions for doing that there. Yeah. Now, granted, they're taking a very, I guess you could say, a cheating. They're not concerned with that here. There's really no mention of, hey, if you take these historical figures out of these timeline here, you're going to ruin everything. So they have Socrates, who we forgot to mention is in the film too, out of Greece, and then here he is talking, doing a book report for Bill and Ted in 1989. So. And there's no repercussions for that. It's just, you're going to introduce Socrates, who people are still familiar with here, but you've taken him out of the timeline there. What happened to the time that he was gone from that period, moving it over now to 1989? And that goes the same for Abraham Lincoln and several other here too. So I always thought that maybe because I got used to the consequences of time travel, that because film for quite some time, and I'm seeing it with Avengers Endgames and Back to the Future, the Butterfly Effect, Interstellar, a bunch of other time travel films that have those serious consequences for doing that. And then watching this film, I got accustomed to that, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, dude, they should be dead, you know. It's like, they should even, if they brought these guys like Abraham, who, Socrates, who the hell is that guy? That's what really should have happened. But again, this film does not take itself very serious, and I'm glad it didn't. But that definitely did stick out for me as a red flag. But
yeah, and I think that's why I enjoyed the film more, because like I know the ridiculousness, the stupidity of it. I'm like, this doesn't make any fucking sense. I'm like, yeah, even if you drop them back in time to the exact time you took them away, so there's no gap, there's still going to be ramifications. There's got to be something. But even then, I think that's what I enjoyed the film as I went along. The stupider it got, and the more stupider the premises, especially with the time travel. And then, I gotta remember a trash can, or like how they, conveniently left the keys behind the sign to get into the jail to release everybody. Just the little stupid things like that, because that doesn't how it works. Because I grew up watching Back to the Future and watching Doctor Who, and also there's serious ramifications. Yeah. And there's a specific way you do time travel, so none of that stuff happens. But regardless, I think because of those faults, it actually kind of helps the movie in a sense, even though there's some very glaring plot holes as the movie goes along. And I think it kind of helps with that really charm of how this is just a dumb movie.
But it's a lot of fun.
Don't think about it too much because you'll just hurt your brain. But it's a lot of fun nonetheless.
All right, well then, so that's pretty much all I can think of right now to get into here. Now, I guess one question I did want to ask you, though, is that if you have never seen the movie and you were to watch it right now for the first time, do you think you would have actually enjoyed the film as much as you did now, even when you watched it back then? Like, do you think you'll have that same sort of sentiment towards the film?
Of course. Without the nostalgia goggles in, even then, it's such a dumb premise. This is really ridiculously stupid.
Yeah.
Did people really think that this is how it worked back then? It'd be kind of like, oh, so this is what people thought time travel was, or so this is what people thought Surfer was during the 90s, 80s, It'd be such a weird time capsule of a film that'd be like, I'd probably still enjoy it for just the ridiculousness it is.
Yeah, I showed this movie to my son when I was watching it with him with him for the first time and me for the first time in quite some time, and he actually ended up liking the film a great deal, which I was very happy because it brought back the fact that my son was watching at that age. I was a little bit younger than when I first saw it for the first time on TV. So in my mind, like watching that film with him and looking at his reaction, finding things that he thought were funny for me that also were still funny for as well. He clearly knew that it was a dated film. He's like, yeah, this movie, you can tell right off the bat it's old and that would never happen. And wow, you guys had that back then. Like, yeah, those are phone. Like I had to explain all that stuff here to him, and so I was, it definitely brought a lot of good memories for me, because I definitely had a lot of good memories with Bill and Ted, especially with the cartoon series there. I haven't seen it in quite some time, so I don't know how the cartoon series will hold up. So I'm curious to check it out to see if I still have the same reaction to that. But I hope that with this new film, which we'll get into later, I would certainly live up to what we saw for this film here. So, but anyways, overall thoughts. What do you have your thoughts on here in this film?
Look. Don't take the movie too seriously. If you're looking here for like a good sci-fi, scientific, mind-boggling, story, you're not going to get it here. But you are going to get a fun, quirky, really dumbed down, hilarious, I could call this a sci-fi comedy. If that's what you're looking for, that's what it is. It's kind of a staple classic, buddy comedy. With a little bit of sci-fi in it, and you'll love it. You're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, it was with a little bit of history in there too. A little bit in the mix there. Yeah. So, well, that's my thoughts on the film here too. I think it's just it's just a film to enjoy for what it is. Don't take it seriously. And if you're like David had said, if you're looking for a thought-provoking film, you're watching the wrong film.
Not provoke a single thought.
Don't waste your time with that. But anyway, so those are our final thoughts on the film here. So overall, you would give the film a super high cheers here, because I definitely would here.
It's just for the nostalgia factor itself. High cheers.
Yeah. All right, then. Well, so let us know, everyone out there, what you guys think of the film. If you have seen the film before, did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you familiar with the other spin-offs they had, the cartoon series, the live action
Did
stuff?
you watch the TV series?
Yeah, if you did watch it,
Let us know
what you
that.
think, because I've never met anybody that has watched it, so I'm not sure what the general consensus is. I'm sure it's pretty much the same as it were for me, where I saw it. I was like, this is not very good.
I was more of a weird science kid at the time. You know, I was watching that or Parker Lewis Never Loses. So that's, those are my staples during that time when I was watching. So I didn't even know it even existed besides the cartoon. But let us know. And let us know, did you watch Weird Science? Let us know if any 80s, 90s movies / TV shows that you guys are into. Let us know in the comments below, and we'll definitely get into it with you guys as well. And we'll review them if you want us to. But Rob, if they want more, where else can they follow us?
Well, if you want to follow us here, check us out on our social media accounts here. We have a Facebook and an Instagram page simply at New Release Wednesdays, and on Twitter at the NRW. And you can follow myself on my social media accounts. On Instagram, just Rob Medina0585, and on Twitter, Rob Medina0585. And on Facebook, simply just Rob the Movie Guy. And my buddy from another nutty over there on the left, I'm sorry, not the left-hand side, the right-hand side. I'm on the left-hand side. Anyways, where can they follow you, sir?
You can follow me on my social media at Instagram and on Twitter at David is Disaster. You can follow me on my personal Facebook page at David A. Estacado, where I put everything up regarding my indie wrestling, comic books, promotion, everything that you guys need or want. And you can also see me argue with Rob every now and then when it comes to our movie and music taste as well.
Shit gets reels down there.
It does. It does. Besides that, like Rob said, hit that like and subscribe button. Always come back for more and check out what the rest of the NRW crew has in store. We do everything from comic books, movies, television, heck, even food soon. Me and Rob like to travel, so does the rest of the crew. We're definitely going to have some videos up as soon as possible, and we'll get those out there quickly to all y'all. But besides all that, like Rob always likes to say, stay safe and always
cheers.
Cheers.